We're gonna have another day back again, trying to figure out what's happening with the markets. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, you guys should be getting the notifications soon. So maybe once you get it, you can join in. Few things to go on, not too much, but should be pretty cool. Let's see. So the Nasdaq is down about 56 points for today, but remember that it's got about 200 points as of yesterday. So keep that in mind. I'm sure if you guys, that might be better. So as of now, Nasdaq down 55 in today's open, but remember 200 points and lower is what it was uh, as of yesterday. So we still have a percent or a percent and a half higher on the Nasdaq for today. So keep that in mind. Anyways, let's just go over a few things. Let's see. Still got 5 minutes before we start, so this was just to test everything to see if everything's working well. Uh, Hello, hello. How's it going, guys? How's it going, CLT? Nice to see you there. So we're just going to start in a bit. We're just looking for a few things. Bitcoin's been pretty steady. Even in the equity markets, I mean, we were up a percent and a half. So we're down about 55 points at the moment. So not too much, nothing crazy to write home about. But it's looking good as of now. We should be up a percent and a half in today's open. Be fascinating to see what happens with Nvidia, what happens with the rest of them, with Apple as well. Okay. Anyways, before anything, just go ahead and hit into the poll, hit into the subscribe. I want to see what happens to today's poll. It'll be fun. And also drop your biggest stock holding. I want to know if you guys are comfortable telling me that. We can maybe talk about those. Maybe it matches with the same one that I have as well. So it should be a fun day. I mean, we don't have too much news that came out other than a few things about Donald Trump, especially when it came with the EU tariff pause that's happened. I did make a video with my colleagues yesterday, so that should be coming out today. So that should pretty much be it's it's edited as well, so we should have that today coming through. If you guys can just drop in and let me know if the audio is fine, if you can hear me clearly, that'll be great. Okay. Lightweight, yeah. It's been a while since I've been to the gym, but fair enough. Ah, great. So let's see what's happened over the past few days. I mean, we'll give it a few minutes before we start. This was just to test if the audio is working fine. Just drop in the comment and let me know if the audio is perfect. There's some new mic that we're trying to figure out if it works well or not. Audio is great. Okay, cool. So that battle has been won. Okay. I know the dollar index was open yesterday, so I mean you still saw it go lower. So now we're at 98.93 on the dollar index. Not sure how that works out for other countries, but it's not looking too good for the US dollar, especially with bond yields coming lower and the dollar heading lower as well. Let's see. I mean, it's bullish for stocks in the short term, but not too much, right? If you see a large amount of dollar weakness, that could be pretty bad, right? Anyway, so let's get on with it. This is episode 8 of our live, pretty much roast of the markets that we do almost on a daily basis. I'm thinking if this is fun, we'll do it on a Saturday, Sunday as well. We get a good amount of views, so eventually we get about 100, 150 people coming in. Over time, that would pick up. So let's keep going at this. Make sure you guys like and at least subscribe to the content, even if you don't like it, because then every time the next time I come on, you guys get that notification and then we can begin. Okay, great. So let's just go over a few things. A few things that happened over the weekend. For anyone that didn't join our previous lives, Trump decided to put in a 50% tariff on EU that would come on June 1st because they were not talking. They were not able to have a meal together. Over the weekend, the EU chief decided to call up Trump and say, hey, I need the extension till July 1st and let's do some talks. And he said it was his privilege to do so. So I don't know what changed, but maybe they just spoke. And because of that, now you have your tariffs that were supposed to come on June 1st, delayed till July 9th. Keep in mind, if that's the case, that also does mean that the EU will now have to deal with a 50% tariff on July 9th if they don't get a deal done. That was not the rate that they were going to deal with before Thursday. So a lot of the market is not actually thinking about that, but you guys should, because that's something that I was thinking about, is that it's not going to be smooth sailing purely because of the fact that that's not the rate that was decided on Liberation Day. So if that's not the rate that was decided on Liberation Day and now you have a rate that's higher, yes, maybe you did get a reprieve from not having it on June 1st and having it on July 9th, but it's a lot higher than what was agreed upon by the administration when it came to Liberation Day. So keep that in mind. It's not necessary that things work out the way we want it to, but if that does happen and you do start seeing prices of things increase, you're also going to begin seeing a lot of shipments from Europe start getting front loaded and heading into America at this given moment, because now they're not sure whether they can even keep this 50% tariff. It might, he's saying right now, I've given it to you till July 9th and it's my privilege to do so. And she called and I said, okay, great, let me do it. Not sure how long that goes on for, but keep in mind, that's one thing. Even the sword that still hangs on Apple's neck is still there, because at the end of the day, Apple is still possibly going to be getting the 25% tariffs. The only way for that to get solved is maybe if Tim Cook calls up Trump and's like, let's do something. Let me get like a 10-year deal with you of spending $1 trillion in America. And maybe we'll build airports or we'll build the new whatever AI systems that they need in America. Because it's very tough to move the iPhone production from India and Vietnam and China and all of that directly back into America. That being said, keep in mind that if there is one company that can deal with all of this stress, it is Apple. There is no other company that can deal with it as well as Apple can, not just diplomatically with the Trump administration, but also with, let's say, when it comes to margins. The margins on Apple are currently at 30%, right? That's the EBITDA margin that they have of 30%. That being said, if there's one company that can deal with it purely because their cost circle could be so low of tariffs, 25% on just their cost of goods, they don't really need to worry about dealing with tariffs for a few years when it comes to another 2 or 3. Then, I'm pretty sure Tim Cook has some cards up his sleeve that he's going to make sure he gets a call done with Donald Trump and figures it out. He is not the kind of guy that I believe is going to want to fight any of this. So That is something else that's going on. And you know what? We were actually, in our video that we made, we were actually thinking about this because this seemed pretty logical at that point of time, that Buffett, even at the age of 94, is pretty much still able to come in and time himself so well, even though he doesn't say that he times himself. But he's paid back most of his Apple position over the past year and a half, 2 years, and he's able to do that. I mean, he's able to do that at a scale of bringing it down by 60%. And now that it seems like Apple's the one that's been the lowest out of the Max 7, if you keep Tesla aside, Apple and Google are the ones that have been hit the most. So it's something to keep in mind, because I'm not really sure how Apple's going to deal with all of this with the 25%. Can they deal with it financially? Yes. Can they deal with it? Because who knows? What if he puts a 25 to 50? What if he puts a 50 to 75 on Apple? You never know, right? I mean, those are things that could always happen. I mean, he's doing the 25 just because he wants Tim Cook to call him and then start some negotiation somewhere. But maybe, I mean, it would be fun to know something that would happen with Apple as a precursor to it happening with other companies, because he's already come out and said that the tariff that he's going to be potentially putting on Apple could also be put on Samsung and other phone makers, because it wouldn't be fair. Now, I don't know what is fair in all of this, but I guess it is what it is. Anyway, so some more news. Dow futures are up 400 points after Trump announces extension on EU tariff. We're just back to where we were on Thursday. So it's not really smooth sailing. But anyways, this is kind of funny though. Russia suggests Trump has emotional overload after calling Putin crazy over Ukraine attacks. Maybe it's getting personal between them. That's what's happening. Let's see. Okay, let's go in. You guys can drop in and by Thursday. Okay, that's good. I mean, that's a good thing if you're going to get back to my country. Well, I'm not sure if you know where I am, but if you are, then it's better we meet up. That's pretty cool though. Anyways, so yeah, this is one of the charts that I was looking at. It's something that's related to that buying the dip in this time, even in this fall, hedge funds and institutions stayed away, while the S&P has averaged a gain of 0.3% on the day after down days this year. So that's technically in all of this nonsense. What's actually happened is you've had your best days right after your worst days. So this has been the strongest showing since 2020 for the S&P 500, when it's moved higher after the worst day that it's been. So even though it's down for the year, I still believe that we will see new highs, right? That's something that I'm pretty sure we should be able to see. Maybe 6,500 on the S&P, maybe 10-15% from here on the Nasdaq. I think it's still a bull market year. I don't think it's a bear market year this time. I could be wrong, and I'll change my mind on a whiff, because that's how the markets are. And I have to adjust, right? Anyways, let me see who's going on. Okay, we got 9 votes already. Let me see who's winning. So make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe, because I want to know what's happening with our poll as well as what's happening with our subscription. So we're trying to get to 100 subscribers. So do your bit, please. I would be thankful of you. Who's got the upper hand in this tariff war? So the 4 choices you had was Trump's trade strategy, EU's retaliation game, Apple's silent lobbying, and Buffett's cash power play. So at the moment, we got Trump's tariff strategy still winning. So, I mean, there's a lot more people bullish about his art of a deal. So, yeah, that's that. Let's go and let's see. Okay. What do you want? You want me to tell you your name? Dude, really? Go ahead and hit the subscribe, man. That's how I'm going to say your name. Anyways, let's just get on with more important things. So there's another thing that's happening is when the bill that's cleared the House and it's going to the Senate, it is going to increase the trade deficit by 3.5 trillion. Now, I'm not sure how that's reducing anything, but what they do believe is that if they're able to grow their way out of the deficit, that's the only way they can solve the deficit issue. The thing with me is that everybody's talking about the deficit, everybody's talking about the bond yields, everybody's talking about an impending recession that is going to happen anytime now. If everyone's talking about it, you shouldn't be technically worrying about it, especially the concept that, the Republicans are pushing $3 trillion deficits, Democrats were even worse, and nothing stopped this train. Bond markets are also getting nervous. The bond market is getting nervous about it's not getting nervous about the dollar. It is getting nervous about the fact that we're saying we're going to reduce the deficit, but in all honesty, we're increasing the deficit and hoping that the growth through the 2017 tax cuts and all the other money that's coming into America is going to now help America reduce its trade deficits, reduce its deficits globally, and help the bond yields go lower. Now, I'm not sure if they can do all of that at one time, but then again, right? I mean, you never know. This is something to keep in mind. This is something that I am purely looking at. It is not something that is going to affect any of us in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. The deficit is an issue for maybe a decade from now. Till the time, okay, guys, remember this, till the time there is no other powerful reserve currency other than the dollar, it is not an issue about the deficit. Plain and simple. Any of you guys believe that the dollar can be overthrown? Shoot me what you believe will be the currency that will take over. It'll be a fun conversation about that. I've had this conversation last time with someone about the European Union's euro being the currency that could take over. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's only going to happen unless and until the Europeans decide to split the EU. All of them have their own currencies, and then you possibly could have a currency that could take over. But that is not happening in the next 10 years for sure. Right. Let's see what else is happening. Right. I do believe also that maybe Buffett would have been, he's asked for a reprieve from the SEC, trying to see whether he could get a new purchase, which is most likely the thing is a financial institution or possibly a bank, which is why he's not letting the world know about what his purchase was, the same as what he did when he was buying Chubb the last time. So one of the funny things that he's done is, which is something to keep in mind, because what he's doing is he's going and buying moats, right? That's his aim. He's bought a company and doubled down on it called Constellation Brands. Constellation Brands, for everyone that drinks, basically has a moat around beer in America because they own Modelo and all these other countries, Corona and all of that. What I'm not certain about is buying into something like Constellation Brands, which is more of an alcohol-based play, will require a resilient economy as well. Yes, I do believe that people drink irrespective and people will drink more even if they're sad, but you still need money, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if people believe that recessions and unemployment is going to pick up, I'm not sure how many people go out to drink. So that's going to start hurting. At this given moment, I don't see any signs of labor force issues, and we'll talk about that because it's going to kind of be an issue later on, but not today, right? But yeah, let's go on. Yeah, next. Yeah, so the 10-day advance decline ratio, that's something that I look at, and that was in the overbought territory, went into the oversold territory, and now you're kind of looking at the number of advances picking up way more than the declining, right? So that's a good sign for markets to go ahead, but that's not really a good sign when you are trying to short-term trade. And I don't do those many short-term trades, but do remember that prices do go up and they have started falling. So which is there has been a huge run and you have seen a cool off phase last week. And we could be in for a rally this week and the next week. So keep that in mind, guys, because you could see something go lower and then head up back again, because that's how these things happen. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Okay. Yeah, and I do believe that sentiment basis, people did want to pull back and you're kind of getting it. How many people are going to be buying in? Because these kind of news days basically makes people worry about this concept as to, can it get worse? And it shortly could get worse. But at this moment, nothing looks that bad. We still got a very high, strong range of advancing stocks. So that's been doing pretty well. And let's go. So you had a holiday. One of the things that was there, another one that was there was consumer confidence. According to me, can be seen very well when it comes to people going out to the movies to watch, right? I know Disney's movie Lilo and Stitch hit more than $350 million in sales over the Memorial Day weekend, right? These kind of things, you usually would start having softening cinema sentiment in terms of people going and watching movies and all of that in some form of a slowdown or in some form of a consumer backdrop. At this moment, Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible, they deliver Memorial Day box office records. You're not going to get box office records if the consumer was really weakening, right? I mean, at the end of the day, whether the rich go to watch a movie or the not so rich go to watch a movie, the cost of watching it is the same. So you still need number of people that go in to watch a movie, right? But that's been happening as of now. Another one that Elon Musk came out and said is that he's looking to get back to Tesla and his other companies 24/7. So which is, it's going to be pretty cool, right? Let's see what happens. If all goes well, Starship launches tomorrow. So that's going to be fun to watch, right? I mean, when Starship launches tomorrow, it's going to be fun. Yeah, so this one was fun. Canadian factory activity remained depressed in April, with an early estimate pointing to a sharp drop in sales led by declines in petroleum and coal and motor vehicles. Now think about it, this, right? If the Canadian factory activity starts remaining depressed for a few more months or maybe another month, what's the likelihood that they cave first when it comes to the Trump deal, right? And if they do cave, trade deal, it could very well be a case, because I do believe that the Mexicans are going to make a deal with Americans pretty soon, or at least before July 9th. So would the Canadians, because their economy requires America a lot more than most people think. So weakening Canadian factory activity and sentiment, it's going to be pretty tough for them to continue doing what they're doing in terms of trying to be against America. Yes, their sovereignty is not at question. So they're never going to become the 51st state, and maybe Trump doesn't even want that, but that's the way he's just going with it, because he just pretty much wants people to come in and talk to him and negotiate the way he wants it to be done. So anyways, let's see. Let's go ahead and see, because if the Canadian deal does go through, you could see auto companies doing pretty well in America. A lot of the auto parts keep going back and forth. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Drop in the comments with the stocks that you guys want. Maybe that'll be pretty interesting for me to see. What is it that you guys are up to? Starship can reach Mars in 6 months. Every 26 months when the planets align. All right. Yeah, that seems fascinating. Anyways, I'm not sure how many of us really do want to go to Mars. Yeah, so Lilo and Stitch opened to 183 million in the US, and beating Top Gun Maverick's 160 million debut. Mission Impossible brought in 77 million, so the best opening in franchise history and hit. So that's what I'm saying. Total US box office for the long weekend hits 322 million. Now, when it hits 322 million, that's the highest ever for Memorial Day. I'm not sure how the consumer is stretched. So just keep that in mind, right? I, one thing that I would like to see tomorrow is what the effect on Tesla would be, because BYD has been reducing its prices substantially, and they've been offering discounts for many of their models. Because if there is another price war and Tesla has to reduce its prices as well, that's eventually going to lead to lower market share for Tesla, because BYD at this moment is pretty much thrashing the living daylights out of Tesla when it comes to China. So keep that in mind, right? I mean, I'm not certain as to what happens there, but it'll be worth watching what happens with Tesla stock when markets open today, right? So go ahead, drop in the comments with any of your. Let me just go see some of these comments. None of them are about stocks. So I'm guessing when it's about a stock, we'll talk about it. Else we move on. Make sure to subscribe. So I try doing this pretty much every day at the same time. So for any of you that, I think you hit the bell button or whatever it is, and then you can then join in the next time when I'm live also. Yeah, so that's what core PCE comes out today. Inflation data comes out today. What I'm kind of wondering about inflation data is this might just be the last inflation data that has a softer number, because now you'll start having year-on-year effects. If that's the case and you start seeing prices do move up bit by bit because of these tariffs that have lasted at least for a month and a half and for another month and a half as well, because if your tariffs are even in for 3 months, there is going to be some increase in price. The Fed necessarily might not be able to cut, right? Because they're not going to be able to come in and cut rates without having to know what exactly is happening with the data at this moment, right? I mean, this is a conversation that I was having yesterday as well. On Thursday, you had a 10% rate on the EU. On Friday, you potentially could have had a 50% rate on the EU. On Monday again, and on Tuesday now, you're back to the 10%. So the data keeps changing when it comes to tariffs. The effects of that data on economic data will change as well. Luckily, if this is happening over one weekend, there's no effect on the economic data. But if you're going to be shifting trade rates from 10% to 50% and lower and higher, you're going to eventually start seeing some effects of price increases. Prices aren't going to reduce for sure. Prices are going to increase. And when prices do increase, the Fed can't act that easily. The Fed's not going to be able to act that easily purely because they have clearly come out and said that we're data dependent. So they're just going to buy time to try figuring out what they can do. Whether that's a right thing or a wrong thing, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that there's a higher chance of the Fed being late to the party than the Fed being preemptive. There's all reasons for them not to be preemptive because they don't even know what the effect is going to be. They don't even know what the rates are going to be. You could have him come tomorrow and say, I've spoken to everyone and this is a scam and here's everybody, let's just, there's no more, this was a prank, no more tariffs on any other country, right? Under that given scenario, if that happens, you're not going to have the Fed be like, oh, you know what, I was wondering whether this guy's going to put that much, so I cut 25 basis points, but now he's not put the tariff rates. Second, he could keep these tariff rates. And then it would be a lot smarter in hindsight that the Fed did not cut and the Fed held on, right? So that's something else that's been going on in my head, because I'm like, maybe the Fed is being smart by not cutting. But if inflation keeps coming lower and is lower already and is closer to their target range, there's no reason why a 25 basis point cut might not be warranted. I mean, what is it going to make a big difference when it's already at 4.5%, right? Keep that in mind, right? Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see if there's anything else that's been happening. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you all a brief on what we did yesterday when it came to our video, right? Yeah, so over the weekend, the Federal Reserve President Neil Kashkari was there, and he says Trump's tariffs are likely stagflationary, pushing inflation up and slowing growth. He tells Bloomberg that the Fed probably won't have enough clarity to change rates before September. So that's exactly what we've been saying. The Fed is basically buying time, saying, hey, we're not sure what the rates are, we're not sure what the effects are, we can't act till the time we don't see the effects. Now, you can be on both sides of the boat, right? One side of the boat comes out and says, hey, you need to be prepared and make sure you cut rates before the storm comes in. And there's another side of the board where currently all the Fed members are, most of them, where they're like, let us see signs of the storm coming in and then we'll cut rates. So that's the story, right? I mean, I think the next video that I might make would be about the effect of the Fed and Trump and what's going to happen with Powell and Trump. But I mean, it's going to be fun. So if you want to watch any of those videos, make sure you subscribe. So you'll get, we're putting out one of the videos today. Maybe once this live session ends, there should be a video that the editors put out. So subscribe to the channel, you'll get the new videos that come in as well. That's fun. So South Africa the president had kind of an issue when he was at the White House, and there was kind of a tussle, the same one I think that was there with Zelensky, but maybe not that serious. But anyway, so South Africa is offering to import LNG from United States for 10 years as a part of a deal proposed to Washington. So I guess it's all about trade and tariffs, man. I mean, just keep that in mind, right? Russia launched its largest ever drone and missile assault on Ukraine. A lot of people do believe that the war is now going to get worse. What I do believe is this might just be the end of the war. They're just trying to take as much as they can, or bombard as much as they can, because they can get a better part of the deal, right? I mean, if the art of a deal is what Trump said, then to a large extent Putin is also a smart man, so he's going to try bombarding Ukraine as much as he can in order to try getting a better deal when it comes to dealing with Trump. So yeah, Trump Media Group plans to raise $3 billion to spend on cryptocurrencies. Okay, anyways, no worries. Cool. One of the other things that he was thinking of was Trump's thinking to take away billions in grant from Harvard and give it to trade schools across the US. Now that would be pretty cool. It'll be money well spent for sure. I mean, these are all my views. You guys don't need to agree with it, and that's fine by me. Yeah, this is one thing that I read about Amazon the other day, which was pretty cool, that long before you clicked buy on Amazon, Amazon's AI-driven forecasting models predicted that someone in your city would likely order those vitamins and minerals that you were browsing. So they were able to know that a lot earlier. So depending on your circle as well as your neighbors and what they order, it was likely that you would let one of them know as to what a great product is and what a bad product is. So based on that, they would start stocking up before that. That's just, now that I think about it, it's pretty insane that people that live close by might just be using the same things as well, because you get the same ads, right? I mean, and Amazon is the largest global ad spender. So keep that in mind. Yes, I mean, this historical capex cycles that have been growing at rates faster than what I mean, we all know all of that. Let's see. You guys have any stocks? Then drop it in. I'm just gonna go ahead and see if there's anything that happened overnight. At this moment, nothing. Let's see. Yeah, tomorrow's live would be a lot more interesting because we'll have an entire day of information that comes in. So go ahead and hit that subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers and then keep growing from there slowly. What? Okay. This is weird. Some of the news, I mean, it's not even worth talking about it, so I'm just going to skip some of that. Yeah, this was something that I wanted to talk to you guys about, which is container shipments, right? Container shipments between the US and China is pushing back to new lows despite the recent bilateral trade agreement to lower tariffs. They did have a spike in bookings, but obviously the containers take time to come through. So I'm not sure if a container goes about $10,000 because that's what people are expecting. I mean, goats within the industry like Ryan Peterson at Flexport has been saying that if the current demand stays the way it is, you could see $10,000 on a container, right? I mean, that would get things more expensive because if container prices increase, you're going to start seeing port fees increase. You're going to start seeing people working there wanting more amount of increments. You're going to start seeing prices go up because eventually someone has to pay for it, and eventually the consumer will, right? There's no one else that pays for anything. Let's go. Let's see. Uh, so I am not technically, let me see what disturb genius. What are you teaching? I'm not actually teaching. I do this for fun. What I'm trying to do is tell people in a larger way why is it that the headlines and the news that they listen when it comes to financial markets isn't exactly what they're supposed to be. So to give you a simple example so that we cut this chase in like 10 seconds, every time you use listen to tariff news, you shouldn't always get scared like the one that happened over the weekend, right? On Friday when he just came out and said, oh, 50% since June 1st, and everybody just ran for the shelters and sold out, and the Nasdaq dropped by 2%. What we were saying on that day was that, hey, you know what, think about it, it's not that bad. He just wants them to call up and get things moving, and that's what happened over the weekend, right? You can go back to the two lives back and literally say that we were actually saying that. Even yesterday, we were actually saying that. Even on Friday, when the news came out about the EU tariffs and all of that, we literally came out and were like, don't do this. Don't waste your time trying to figure all of this news out. Take a step back and buy stocks when you can, because if prices go lower, it's better to buy, right? Do I like Trump's strategy or not? Just to a large extent, I do. I'm not pro-Trump or pro-Democrat, pro-Republican, but I am not fond of the way the tariffs were rolled out. Am I fond of the fact that tariffs were required? Yes, because that's the only way they could deal with their deficit, possibly. Bringing in that much amount of money into America. Remember, guys, if we did not do any of these kind of tariff rates and shock the world to some extent, he would not get TSMC and all the other countries to come to America and build at that scale. Because you can ask them saying, hey, can you guys come in? Can you guys do it, please? They would not listen. But if you're putting a stick instead of a carrot, there's a higher chance that they would. And that's what's happened, right? So he's able to put it for those many days, maybe for like 2 weeks, and then eventually come out and say, hey, okay, here's 90 days to you guys, but make sure you're continuing to build, right? TSMC is building the world's largest plant for semiconductors when it comes to in Arizona. So is his strategy working? Yes. Will it have detrimental effects on the economy because of the way it was carried out? Possibly. But at this moment, if you're even getting commitments of $5 trillion, it's not something that's bad, right? I mean, think about it. When you went to the Middle East and got all of this money and apparently all of these semiconductor deals getting done, it is something that's going to be beneficial for America. I would keep that in mind. Whether his strategy is going to work in stopping the wars, that I'm not sure about. I'm involved in financial markets, right? I mean, for me, that matters more in terms of what the effects of that are and to people that are viewing this channel, right? So, do I like his strategy? In a few ways, I do. In some things, I don't. But that's the way it is, right? I can't change the way it is. But anyways, let me just get to the next one. Other countries also giving high tariffs to America. What do you think about this? I do believe that that's the reason why he's also doing it, right? I mean, some countries, especially like China, Vietnam, all of these guys, you were able to do label washing, move some of your products from country A to country B, get it labelized saying made there, or do something there and then send it to America so you have a lower rate. A lot of the countries had non-tariff barriers, which is also true, right? But then again, when they do talk about a non-tariff barrier in New Jersey, we have our own state tax. In other countries, we also have a different state tax. Within America, we have state taxes among different states as well. That could also be similar to a VAT, right? Who knows? I mean, New York City and New Jersey. New Jersey is a lot cheaper for a certain products than New York City for the same product. So that could be a VAT as well that New York's putting. Uh, I'm not sure when it comes to those kind of things how that works. But has there been foreign exchange manipulation? Has there been devaluation of currencies? Has there been subsidies, which I do believe that other countries have provided to their own countries to make them so powerful that other countries cannot bring in their companies and do it, right? I mean, most countries have their own steel production. They don't really have American steel that comes in or is even able to negotiate, because those governments within those countries provide such large subsidies to just automakers as well as to steel companies. So my view is that the only way to fix that, and I'm not saying that he's going to be able to fix it 100%. I'm saying even if he fixes it 20%, as an investor in American equity markets, it is bullish, right? So it's something that is going to happen. Now, like I'm saying, he doesn't need to reverse the whole global order, and I don't think he's trying to do that. What he's trying to do is be like, hey, I know what you guys have done all these years. Stop doing it. Reduce the amount you're trying to do, because otherwise you're going to get these tariff rates. That is what he's trying to do, right? And that's what I believe he's trying to do. I could be completely wrong, but my views and the way I trade is what I try giving out here, and I'm hoping it helps, right? Let me just get to the other one. IMF gave warning to Trump. Apple, Amazon, Walmart also hating Trump. Why? I don't really think they hate him. I just think that see, the IMF basically coming out and saying, okay, this is going to be worse. Everyone knows that. So it's not rocket science that the tariff rates, if they stay steady for, or even if they do come back, right, on July 9th, if you bring back what was on April 2nd, the party is going to end pretty soon for this world when it comes to the bull market that we've had, and we're going to most likely then enter into a recession. At this moment, I don't believe we will, but I don't really think that it's going to be something to worry about today. Why is Walmart, Apple, Amazon, all of these guys? Because I mean, to some extent, he's eating into their margins, right? If he's going to be putting in trade barriers, if he's going to be putting in tariff rates, it's going to reduce their profit. No one wants to see their profit reduce any which ways, especially at a time when they're all spending money on capital expenditure of AI. So keep that in mind, because like this conversation that I was having about Apple a few minutes back was about this fact that if the only company that can deal with these kind of tariffs is Apple, because their margins sit at about 30%. So can a small 25% on just their cost that comes out of a different country be detrimental to them? It'll reduce their EBITDA margins. Does it take them out of business? Absolutely not. And he knows that, right? So he wants to make sure that Tim Cook comes on the table and does what he wants, or at least negotiates with him. So that's something that I'm keeping in mind. I don't really think they hate Trump, but I do believe that they're considering what's happening, right, in this story. So I'm not really sure whether that works out or any of that. But anyways, thanks for the questions, man. Those are smart questions. Let me see what else is happening. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, think about it, guys. I'm just doing this for fun. If there was anything out of it, you guys would have seen a link. Right. So I'm not really interested in that. Anyways, there's a waste of my time to answer anything related to anything. Let's see. Okay, if you guys have like more questions, stock market based, drop it in. We can talk about those. That'll be fun. Let's see what else is happening. Container traffic, I think we already spoke about that, so that's not something that we're interested in. So Canada's factory sales, all of that, same old. Volvo's going to cut jobs another 3,000, right? I mean, do I have knowledge about history? I mean, I'm not sure what history and how back, but give it a shot. If I don't, I will blatantly let you know that I don't know anything about it, and that's the way about it. So at the moment, US stock futures and European indexes still rise. So what I did last see was the Nasdaq was up about, it's down 62 points as of yesterday's close to today in the futures market. But that's not too much because we're up 1.5%. And by the time opening happens, you could have some form of a scenario where prices could start moving higher. Anyways, for all of you that are new here, and I see a few great questions from Disturbed Genius, so make sure you guys subscribe. That'll be fun. Right, let me get that question. If Walmart is cutting job, isn't it bad for American employment? You know what you're saying is right. It is bad, but let me also tell you that we only get news when companies come out and say we're cutting jobs, right? When it comes, let me just get a seat. It's been a while I'm standing. Anyway, so these companies, when they come out and say that, okay, we're going to cut jobs by 5,000, when we're going to cut jobs by 10,000, 3,000, 2,000, they don't come out and say, oh, we're going to be hiring 1,500, we're going to be hiring 2,000, right? A lot of these companies still have job postings, still have jobs coming in. There's a lot of change that happens. Is the amount of jobs being cut by most companies increasing? Yes, I don't deny that. And that is something that I keep thinking about purely because of the concept that if that's the case, you could enter a slowing recession in this world. You could enter a scenario where the job market at this given moment is softening, and if it does continue softening, you can have some form of a mild recession which might lead into a larger recession. That is possible as well. So is the recession off the table? Absolutely not, because the tariffs are not off the table. If these tariff rates continue, what we believe could have been a recession or could have been avoided might not be the case, and you might see the recession actually come through faster. So a lot of it is still based on data. A lot of it is still based on the administration and what they do about things. But to answer your question, if Walmart is cutting jobs, it is bad for American employment. I would say if most companies are cutting jobs together, it is bad because that's going to start taking an effect. Eventually, you're going to have the Doge cuts as well. For some reason, the Doge cuts have not really shown up in jobless claims as well as in unemployment claims. They've not shown up in the non-farm payroll numbers or any of the employment numbers yet, is what people are saying. I don't really believe those many cuts is what people believe it is. A lot of them would get hired still. So I don't take those numbers of job cuts too seriously unless and until you start seeing what I would rather say, right, is look for the capital expenditure that the Max 7 are currently doing. And if there's any slowdown there, that would be a better sign of knowing if the economy is eventually slowing. Because with the way AI has taken the world by storm, if these companies start saying we're going to reduce our capex, or we don't believe that the revenue that we believed would be coming out of AI in the next few years is now going to be coming in, instead of it coming in 4 years, it will now come in 7 years, that's going to tank stocks. And always remember, the stock market is a leading indicator. Before you get a recession, the stock market would have already collapsed or on its way lower. So recessions come before stock markets have already bottomed. So you're on your way lower and prices are lower, stock prices are lower, and that's what's going to pretty much get into some form of a scenario where you would now have AI capex also being reduced, right? That's something. And if these guys are reducing their capex, they would reduce the amount of jobs they are thinking of hiring as well, right? That's something that I would keep in mind. Let me get to the next one. You think AI will eat the job of animators? I think slowly it might. Would it completely? Not sure. I think if you have a skill set that's pretty much needed, because AI will create some things like smaller things. They might create any of these freelance animators, freelance copywriters, freelance kind of things that might get killed. And I'm seeing signs of that already happening, right? Because it can be done for such a cheaper cost that you could get 10 variations of things that you want within few minutes rather than having to wait 3 days before someone replies to you with what you require. When it comes to the movie business and animation, there that might take a while longer, because remember, wherever you have unions and wherever you have all those kind of things, it's tougher to negotiate these kind of things when it comes to either job cuts or when it comes to completely AI taking over. So keep that in mind as well. I'm not sure that what I do believe, this is my belief, I'm not saying that it's the way to believe, but my belief is that AI will remove less productive work and make people more productive. And that's a good thing for the economy. So will people lose jobs? The only jobs I believe people will lose, or the job descriptions that people would lose, would have been less productive jobs, right? People that, for a given example, edit videos, or for a given example, edit shorts and all of these things that they were making money. I don't really think there is going to be a large demand for these kind of jobs in the years to come, because it will get eaten by AI. So people will move to more productive things. So you would need to increase your skill set and move to those kind of things, is what I would believe in. Let me get the other one. So you think AI is dangerous for humans, or it will become dangerous someday? In all honesty, I think before it can get dangerous, I would pretty much be dead for sure, but it's not happening in the next 40, 50 years, right? Unless and until, and this is something that I keep sometimes used to think about, was if AI takes over a large part of military prowess of a country, if humanoid robotics takes over warfare, then shit can hit the fan, right? That's something that could happen. I don't think it's something that's going to really be too much of an issue as of today, as of the next 10 years or the next 30, 40 years. It's not something. I really like your questions, but make sure you do subscribe, Disturbed Genius, and I like the name as well, because you should join in for the next calls as well. I kind of like these interactions as well. But let me get to the next one. That's from A. So thanks for the question, guys. What is your point of view regarding a sudden recession in the US and the ripple effect on the other economies in the world? Great question. So in all honesty, no recession is sudden. It's always very subtle. Markets usually form some form of topping and they start heading lower. They start giving us signs of a recession incoming. Do we have some form of signs today? Yes. Do we have all the signs needed for a recession? No. Do we need all the signs for a recession in order to have a recession? Absolutely not. So some of the things, I'll give you both sides of the coin before I do get into the ripple effect on other economies in the world. The job market and unemployment data is paramount when it comes to recessions. If the job market starts deteriorating, which it hasn't yet, in some fields it has, but not in all. Should it have already happened if the way people were saying about a recession? It should have, but it's not, so which means we're not in a recession for sure. In a recession, you would start seeing job openings increase, job losses increase, unemployment rate picking up. None of these are happening at this moment. None of them. Unemployment claims picking up, not really. So, not sure if that's going to be too much of a scenario to worry about at this moment. The recession won't be sudden. The recession would be very subtle. You don't realize it till you've already pretty much 25 to 30 or 40% already been in one. So keep that in mind. The simplest way to figuring out if you're in a recession or entering one is to start looking at stock prices. Usually in recessions, all global stock markets start heading lower. That's what usually happens, right? Look at '08, look at 2022 to whatever small of a bear market it was of a year. Stock prices were lower. I'm not going to be taking that. So keep that in mind, right? Unemployment is not something that's gone out of whack. So that is something that needs to start moving higher in order to have a recession, right? You can't have a recession if people are not losing jobs. It is just not possible, right? It is not. Like you can have a one-off COVID type scenario where people could be laid off, or some of these kind of things might happen, where for 2 months everyone's sitting home, but everyone's getting paid, so everyone starts trading stocks or doing whatever they want to on Netflix. But not sure if a recession is ever sudden. I have not seen in whatever anecdotal data that I have when it comes to history of recessions. You've never seen them coming through with uh, a recession straight away beginning, over a month or a weekend or something like that. Not really. You can have wars that cause recession. You can have pandemics like the way we had one that can cause recessions. But those are exogenous shocks to the economy, right? That's not something that's going to primarily bring in a recession, because a recession would cause a bear market. A recession would be something that's elongated for a few years. Now, look for the stock market. That's the cheat code here. Look for the stock market. Look for it turning lower. Look for global stock markets turning lower. One of the reasons why I didn't believe that we were entering a recession since April 2nd, even though the markets were heading lower, is not all global markets were collapsing. You usually, 9 out of 10 times, require all global markets to start heading lower, right? And like one of the next questions about by the Corso family, right? I mean, he says that unemployment is staying steady. Yeah, that's you're absolutely right, and that's the reason why I'm sticking to that. That if the unemployment rate doesn't start picking up, you're not going to start seeing job losses. You're not going to start seeing unemployment claims. You're not going to start seeing recessions come without any of those working out, right? So keep that in mind. Now, let me just get back to A and his last part of the question, which was the ripple effect on other economies. That's what I'm saying. If you do have a recession, it'll lead to stock prices. It'll start off with stock markets as leading indicators heading lower. Eventually, other global markets should also head lower, and that would then be something to keep in mind, because when that happens, you will start seeing a recession. No recessions coming with stock markets at new highs. It's not happening, right? You can have pandemic shocks, you can have bank failures, you can have all the other stuff around it, but none of that's going to cause a recession at the earliest, right? So just keep that in mind. I mean, just remember that stock markets are leading indicators. Before a recession does come through, you will start seeing. Is the stock market forming some form of a topping out process? That was one thing that I was talking to another friend of mine the other day over the weekend. If we do not take out our previous high, which was on the S&P 500, 6147, if 6147 is not taken out in the next few months, and we languish around these levels and start heading a bit lower and lower, we would have topped out for a while. Keep that in mind, right? A lot of that depends at the end of the day on one man deciding to tweet saying he's had a great call. He's woken up on the correct side of the bed and he feels that these tariffs are not required, and we just have a bull market that straight away goes higher. So keep that in mind. That is something that could happen. So not sure if the recession concept that I've been thinking about is going to be happening very, very early. It's not happening as soon as people imagine it would. It usually is going to happen with a deteriorating stock market. At the moment, you're still looking at the US 100, the NASDAQ down about 73 points of the day. It's not too much. We still had a 1.5% rally on the futures yesterday, so that'll adjust. You're still up about 95, 85 plus 150, so about 240 points on Nasdaq. So it's still 1.2% higher. So great. Let me see what Disturbed Genius is. I like your knowledge. Great. Thanks, man. Go ahead and subscribe so you can join in tomorrow, day after, whenever you're free, every time when I do these lives. And you got some great questions that come up as well. So that's nice. I'm not sure if I'm that good at simple questions, man. If you can stick it to financial markets, that'll be simpler. But go ahead, give it a shot. I mean, maybe I'll try. I spend most of my time breathing this kind of news and information, so not sure if I can help you with simple things. I might not be that good at that. But go ahead. Let's see. Let's see if there's any more news that's been happening currently. Something that a lot of people asked me was what would the effect of the EU tariffs have if they do come through at 50%, right? Uh, Let me tell you this, right? If all of the autos and pharmaceuticals and everything that comes out of the European Union would be tariffed at 50%, that would have a larger impact than the current 10% rate that the Chinese have on American products and the Americans have 30% on Chinese products and all of the imports that they're doing with each other. So keep that in mind. We shouldn't reach a scenario where we now have a 50% tariff on Europe, not on June 1st, but on July 9th, right? Keep that in mind, right? So let me just get, do I like solitude or do I like partying? I stick to solitude, mate. That's something that is better for me. Uh, Hero Tegus says, hi, how's it going? Go ahead and drop your stock questions. I mean, this one I wanted to keep it more related to stocks than general market, but we usually move towards the general market itself. And for all of you that are new here, just make sure you all subscribe. You guys can go and watch a few videos that I've put up before. There's one that's going to come out by early morning hours, so we should be able to see that as well. There's a few that have come about. We put up one about a particular company called Affirm in the buy now pay later space. We're kind of bullish on it, pretty bullish on it, especially because of the founder. He was the guy that created PayPal. I'm sure a lot of you know about him, Max Levchin. Phenomenal, the way they're running the company and what the growth will be like. Anyways, so that's there. We have a few videos. One of the videos on Charlie Munger, one of the videos on Buffett, the investing wisdom that we've learned from them. We're going to come out with a video today. It should get uploaded in another few hours. It's about the geopolitical situation, and that's answering your last question, Disturbed Genius, about the effect of Trump tariffs if they do go through on the EU, the effect of Trump tariffs on Apple's 25% tariff rate if they do go through, and how is it that Buffett has taught us to a certain extent in whatever little way when it comes to tariffs and politics as to what the effect of that is and how we can learn from him on that. So keep that in mind. That's going to be a video that comes out maybe in the next few hours. And you guys can then watch that. Go ahead and watch the other videos. I think we have a few shorts as well. That's it. I mean, more than a few shorts. So I'm pretty sure. We're trying to make sure we get to like more and more people because that will eventually be beneficial to all of us. But you could go out and ask me anything, man. I mean, you could still ask me geopolitical questions. You can ask me anything. I'll answer till the time I know the answer. If I don't know something, I'll just clearly say I don't know about it. And that's something. Let me just go back to the poll and try seeing who's winning there. Okay, who's got the upper hand in this tariff war? Trump's trade strategy is still winning. So that's something that's 39% of them say that. And I also vote for that itself at this moment. Do I believe Apple's silent lobbying will work? I'm sure, right? I think that will work. Okay, let me get the last one. Let me get the next question. Was it $400 million plane given to Trump and he asked for a plane from Africa's PM? I'm not sure what he's going to do with so many planes, but I think, you know what, Boeing was anyways delaying his plane. He got a plane from the Qataris. Part of the game, man. I mean, I don't know why people make such a big thing out of it, but it's okay. I mean, till the time, I really don't think it's too much to think over. I don't think we're going to think about it in a few months or years to come any which way. So it's okay. I mean, there's bigger things going on with Trump in the real scheme of things, right? I mean, we got wars going on everywhere. I think the last thing we should worry about is a plane being gifted to him. So, I mean, if the cost of the plane being gifted to him means the Qataris or some of them, and something backhanded happens with stopping the Israel-Gaza war or the Russia-Ukraine war and all of that, it helps. I think $400 million for a particular plane is not really that much, right? It's called a bribe, in my opinion. You know, a lot of people have been saying that. Some of my friends also do believe that. The only thing that I do, this is my view again, right? I mean, my opinion, as it's not really that uh, diverse from that point of view. But what I think about it is, should he have taken it or not taken it? I mean, that's something that's bit the administration decides. But what I do think is, I usually believe that you usually try giving bribes to somebody, yes, to somebody that you want your work to get done. I really think 400 million is not really going to buy the Qataris anything, right? I mean, with the kind of money they have, I don't really know what 400 million to them matters and what 400 million to that matter of fact, President of United States, right? I mean, he has power beyond imagination. One plane being gifted to him. I mean, I think the Saudis can gift him 10 planes if needed. The Emiratis could give him 20 if needed. He could buy a few. He has that much money, right? I think it's more like a gesture. Also, to some extent, another friend of mine was reminding me that, you know, a lot of times when dignitaries do go from one country to another country, there are gifts that are given. It's just that we're not told so much about it. Yes, this one is larger than maybe most, and maybe the largest, as well as it's a goddamn plane. So keep that in mind also. And I'm not sure if he did get, to some extent, I do believe also that if he did have a new plane from Boeing, and if he still did get this gift, he might have still taken it. I don't know, man. I don't know what goes through his head when it comes to plane. I don't know what goes through his head when it comes to tariffs. So, and in tariffs, right, the scenario that happens is that the imposer of tariffs is the one who suffers. It's nobody else. Because all the other countries, everyone's going to figure out a way to sell to America without having to deal with the highest rate of tariff. He's not going to be able to tariff everybody at 60, 70, 100%. Because that's just going to put an embargo on trade globally. So that's not going to happen. So keep that in mind. All right. So yeah, it could be a bribe, it couldn't be, right? I mean, big boss, I mean, you could be right as well. I'm not sure how that works, but be that as it may, it is what it is. Anyways, great question though. What's the next one? You know what's happening in UK? UK is cooked. Yeah. You know, in all honesty, I've been listening to that for quite a while, that the United Kingdom is pretty much cooked even when it comes to immigration, economy, all of those things. To some extent, yes, I do agree with you. But let me just drop in and say one thing when it comes to countries like the UK. You know, for a lot of people that make a lot of money, a few things that they want is security of themselves and their family. To a large extent, you do get that in UK better than most other countries. Maybe not that good for those people that live there and compare themselves, but on a global map, when you look at the UK, you are a lot safer in that city, in that country than most other places in this world. And there is a large power of rule of law. So when you have a large amount of money, what you want is rule of law, because you don't want your money to overnight be wiped away the way it happens in other countries, right? So that's something. So I do believe that UK will continue to have a very strong influence on the globe. They will continue to have a very strong influence when it comes to geopolitics, purely because of the fact that they will have the rich still leading there. Yes, I do believe with you that them being cooked at this moment could do a lot with what their tax rates are and what's happening there. I'm not sure how that works out. I am too dumb when it comes to, and I'm okay to say that I'm dumb when it comes to these kind of things, because this is something that's more generational. It's not something that's going to get affected that easily. A lot of countries still send a lot of their kids, still send a lot of their families to the UK to study, to work, for colleges. So I mean, till the time you have rule of law, great education, great standard of living. It's not going to lose its status as one of the best countries in the world. But yes, could it be hurting itself with all of the immigration, with all of the other crime that's happening with all of that? Is that something that you can fix? Yes. So, I mean, we all have countries that have issues, right? I mean, the question is that at the end of it, could they fix it? Yes. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind as well. Let me get the next one. UK got all the Commonwealth countries. Yeah. I mean, think about it, right? Yesterday or day before yesterday, I was reading about it that the king of UK is now going to be heading to Canada to talk about the sovereignty and all of that. So, I mean, that's something that also you got to keep in mind. That's there. Again, their military prowess, their intelligence services, their rule of law, their security, their other than their tax system, let's say, right? I mean, no one wants to pay those kind of rates of tax, but you have some giveaway when you're getting a few things as well. So keep that in mind. Yeah, these old politicians still got good connections with the rest of the world. I think, you know what, it's like politicians having good connections with the rest of the world politicians and making money is pretty much similar to leaders of companies globally having good connections with other leaders of similar stature. So you can have like the Google founders being very close friends with, let's say, the Apple guys, let's say being close friends with Zuckerberg. I mean, maybe Musk and Zuck don't get along that well, but you know what? Maybe they do, right? People say a lot of shit about the Google guys and Elon and all of that, right? But they're pretty good friends as well, right? So it's not something that's there in the large scheme of things to worry about so much. I mean, we got bigger fish to fry, right? I mean, at the end of the day, the only reason I have this channel here is to break down how geopolitical movements, how stock price movements can help people make some more money, can help people make a better life for their families. Other than that, I mean, we're too small a fry to make any dent in this world at this given moment related to anything geopolitical, right? Yeah, that's that. Anyways, keep those questions going. I mean, I really like the interactions today, so we'll keep going for a bit longer. Make sure to tune in for the remaining lives as well, which I keep doing. Like, I think I'm thinking if I should keep doing it on a daily basis, if I keep getting more people that join in, it's fun. And that's there. Okay, let's see. Big boss, you agree with me? Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for the question, man. I mean, I like these kind of questions. It keeps the fun of things going more. Make sure to send this channel to all of the friends or anyone that you think can, you know, it can help out. We kind of keep it more interactive. It's a lot better that way. Yeah, so BYD is cutting prices on 22 electric vehicles and hybrid models, some as much as 34%. So keep that in mind, because if they're going to cut their prices by 34%, Tesla's going to have to reduce its prices as well. How much of that is going to be taken into the stock? Not sure. Could have some effect on Tuesday morning, sorry. So let's see. I mean, let's see that. Drop in some of your comments of stocks or any of that you guys have. Make sure to subscribe. I'm going to try doing this at the same time. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a daily basis. Even if we have holidays and stock markets, we can go over a few things. Some days we'll have it for like 40 minutes. Some days, if people are more interested, let's see, we can go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Some days, maybe just an hour. We'll take it as it goes, right? It's a lot more fun when there's more people and interactive. Let me get to one of those questions. Where do you read all these geopolitical news? I mean, you know what? In all honesty, I go through about 3 to 4 papers along with the Wall Street Journal every day. I go to a lot of news on Twitter. But over the years that I've been doing this, I mean, considering I've been doing this for about now 16 years, 15, 16 years, there's a way that I dissect this information purely towards financial markets. That's my circle of competence. I don't go outside it, right? So how does it affect the markets and what will happen there helps me realize to a certain extent whether these kind of things are more pomp and people are just doing it for, gaining a few points here and there versus what's the actual effect of it. So yeah, that's it. I mean, maybe Twitter, maybe, newspapers. I look at a lot of apps and information, all of that. I might spend maybe an hour or two trying to figure these things out, not too much. A lot of it is just noise, man. A lot of it is just, feed that comes in, that's just noise. You should just skip 90% of it. They just want you to read it because I'm not sure what their motivations are, but try figuring out the signal from the noise. That's the more important part. Let me get to the next one. Do you think the Indian conflict might affect the Pakistani exotic fish export market? Dude, I'm not sure if they have exotic fishes there, but surely might. If they have a water treaty that's basically in abeyance, it can affect. I don't know much more about that one. In all essence, I don't know about exotic fishes. It's something that can get affected. Who knows, man? Let's see. China eases rare earth export curbs. So those are small things, right? Keep in mind, the Chinese pretty much came out with 125% tariff rate, dropped it down all the way to 10%. So which means their economy and their factories and their people were getting affected massively. Now that's dropping to that much of an extent. You are going to start seeing, and these are some nuggets of information that you keep looking at within geopolitics. What you try looking for is, are they tweaking some of these things which is making trade more favorable, right? So remember, China easing rare earth export curbs. This is something that they first clamped on when they had a China-US trade issue, right? Beijing has quietly loosened restrictions on key rare earths, whatever the hell these names are, terbium and neodymium, helping drone makers resume shipments. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because they want that trade deal to go through with America, because America is buying a lot of rare earths from the Chinese as well. So when you loosen your trade restrictions with a country that you're currently in conflict with, you're basically telling them that, hey, you know what? Maybe we can work together on something. I'm not coming in with the stick. I'm now coming in with the carrot. Let's talk and let's make things better. So keep that in mind. These small nuggets of information make you realize that maybe there is a US-China trade deal that is in the works and improving. Because I'll be honest with you, if the US-China trade deal does go through before July 9th, all-time highs are coming on the stock market, irrespective of maybe the next 3 or 4 countries not having trade deals. So keep that in mind, right? Let me get to the next one. India becomes 4th largest economy in the world. What do you think about this? Will Japan be jealous? Keep in mind that when it comes to countries in the Southeast Asian region, India, Pakistan, any of the other countries that are there, especially India, you have a very large population. So by GDP metrics itself, if you're going to value a country and India becoming 4th, where India might be on its way to becoming 3rd as well in another few years because it will overtake Germany, what you should look at is GDP per capita, right? Which means the amount of money that a country has in terms of GDP divided by the population. So if that is improving substantially, that's going to increase your standard of living, that's going to increase your ease of doing business, and eventually going to make you a superpower. So if you want to look at something just based on GDP numbers, yes, you can clap your hands and say, okay, we're going from a 5th to a 4th to a 3rd to a 2nd to a 1st. What is more important is to remember that a country like Japan might have, let me actually get this so I can actually give you the numbers easily, right? So Japan's population versus India's population. I know India's population would be over 1.7, 1.8 billion. At least as of May 2027, India's population is estimated to be at around 1.46. I don't know if that's true, but Japan's population is estimated to be at 121 million, right? You're looking at a 10, 15 times of a difference in population, while Japan's GDP is still being right there, right? I mean, they might be lower than India, but if you have 1/10 that population, I'm not really sure if it's going to be that much of an issue. So keep that in mind. Will Japan get jealous? I think they got bigger shit to fry out there. Their bond yields are currently going crazy. Their inflation, which has been dead for all these years, is going crazy. They're the only economy that I know right now in the world that is increasing interest rates in order to deal with their inflation. So it's something to keep in mind, right? Let me see. Is it because of illiteracy rate, GDP? The literacy rate is picking up in a country like India. They are one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Maybe in the next 40, 50 years, they will be the most powerful country in the world when it comes either to military or towards, let's say, GDP. But on a GDP per capita, it will take a very long time, right? Let me do this math. From what I remember, the GDP per capita for India was lower than 5,000 US dollars. Yeah, it's at about 2,480 US dollars, right? Now, when you look at it that way, at the moment, the GDP per capita for Bangladesh is 2,551 US dollars. Now, is Bangladesh a more powerful and a more economically better country than India? For sure not. But their GDP per capita is better. What that means is people's living standards better. That is more important. Now, if the rich in India keep getting richer and richer, you can have your GDP continuing to increase. But if the poor don't get a better standard of life, it's going to get tougher to get bigger and bigger without just a few people making money, right? And you don't want that to happen, right? That being said, Pakistan's GDP is at $1,365. So GDP per capita of India and Pakistan, that's that. But let's look at something like Japan, right? Japan's GDP per capita is at about 33,766. So you're looking at 2,400 for India, fourth largest, overtaking Japan, while Japan lower GDP, but per capita, 33,000, 2,500 and 33,000. So that speaks volumes in itself, right? I mean, they make, the media and all of these people make so much noise about it, right? And that's what I'm coming to, the last point by Big Boss 1 hour, right? It's so misleading. The media make it sound so great while wealth gap is so huge between the poor and rich. That's true. That's what I'm saying. You can't just look at GDP numbers and now we're the fourth largest, some other countries the third largest, some other countries the fifth largest. I'm not sure if GDP matters to any given extent in the grand scheme of things. So just, I mean, keep that in mind because it's not something that's the be all end all of economies. Rule of law, standard of living, per capita income, literacy rate, number of people that get out of a poverty line and go higher above that. So those kind of things are important. I'll give the benefit of the of what's happened in India over the past 15 years. Surely, a lot of people, I mean, it is still the world's largest country with the most amount of English-speaking people, right? You still had a country that came out of independence maybe only 75, 77 years back. So things will improve. They are already improving, but it's going to take time. You can't just look at GDP and be like, okay, this country is great, right? That's not the way to look at things. By that logic, you would be saying that living in Switzerland is worse off than living in India because India's GDP is bigger than Switzerland. So it's not that easy to look at. So just keep that in mind. Those are some things that you should not forget when you look at this kind of thing. But the news and the media is the thing, right? The noise that they create about these kind of things makes you start believing that, oh, you know what, everything's so great. Everything that's happening is so much more beneficial for a country. Keep in mind, there's a lot of signal that you need to get out from all of this noise. To some extent, I try doing that on this channel. So tune in for the 7:30 shows and make sure you subscribe. Let me see what else is happening in this world. You guys have any more questions, drop it in. We can talk about stocks as well. So I mean, that's true as well. Let me see, but it is an achievement, right? Oh, for sure it is. 100% it is. For a country that deals with colonial rule and getting out of it and then building itself to becoming the third, fourth largest economy in the world, it is an achievement beyond imagination. On a relative sense, you should look at it based on other countries on these few metrics that I was saying. But
As an achievement, 100%. I mean, any country for that matter of fact that goes up that ladder, it is an achievement, 100%. At the end of the day, in order for you to become the third, fourth, fifth largest economy in the world, it requires development, it requires standard of living to improve, it requires the rich to get richer, but also the poorer to get better off in terms of money, in terms of savings, in terms of improvement when it comes to banking, in terms of investments. So is it an achievement? 100% it's an achievement. There is no taking away from that fact. But it depends on the way you think of it, right? If you're going to look at it only from a perspective of just the country that's now currently doing well, or are you looking at it from in a relative sense against another country? So keep that in mind. I mean, everything that's there about a particular country must be looked at also in a relative sense, right? You could be, it's like this, you could be very proud that in your country you have 2-lane highways, right? And you came from no highways to 2-lane highways, let's say. So have you achieved something? Absolutely. Now, when you look at it from the aspect of looking at it against other countries, let's say they have 4-lane highways, 6-lane highways. Now, are you relatively better off? Absolutely not. But are you better off and achieved something in the past few years or decades by getting from a no road scenario to a 2-lane highway scenario? Absolutely. So think of it that way. That's something that I look at when it comes to these kind of improvements. Yeah, so the Japanese government bonds, they have been rising. Support, that's what we've been talking about when it comes to Japan, right? That's been rising. And there's been some tariff uncertainty. So from what I remember them saying that there was some amount of tariff uncertainty that was coming in. And the Japanese government was going to help their companies as well as individuals because of this tariff uncertainty. So that's going to make their bond yields go up higher and higher. So keep that in mind. I mean, that would be pretty interesting to see what happens there. So let's see. How long have we been going on? It's about 87. I know, it's pretty fun though. I mean, if you guys are cool to go on for some bit, I have some work to do. So I'm going to stick out and do that, but we can go on for a few more. It's a fun interaction today, so I don't mind going on for a bit more. Let me see. I'm thinking if maybe I'll do a live session even when the market opens. So maybe that'll be a fun time as well. Let's see how that goes though. Yeah, 50% tariffs on the EU are delayed until July 9th. So for anyone that's new and realizing what happened over the weekend, that's what happened. We pretty much went back to what happened on Thursday. So that's what it is. Yes. So that being said, a lot of the things that I was talking about on my video the other day was also about the EU tariff threat, you know, how it's going to affect luxury companies like Louis Vuitton, all of these other companies that sell a lot of their wine, bags, I don't know, whatever else people want to spend their money on that comes out of the EU and into America. That's eventually going to start hurting if these tariffs were going to go through. Keep in mind, it is just that we've got reprieve up till July 9th. It is not that we're going to, for sure, be out of this. So, for everyone thinking that yes, this is a negotiation, for sure, this is just a negotiation. But not sure how much of this is going to actually play out on July 9th, but it'll be fun. I mean, we'll be tracking this pretty much on a daily basis, so that's cool. That's going to be fun to see. One of the things that's going to be also interesting to see is what happens in the next quarters when we get these super investors letting us know where they've invested. When Buffett says that, is he still sitting on that much of cash, over 350 billion, and is he putting in anything? Want to know if what you guys think is Buffett's wait and watch approach the smart way to go at it? I'm not sure, but let's see. I mean, he is who he is for a reason, right? So, I mean, let's call it quits for today. Maybe we have a live that goes on during the market. I've got some stuff to finish, so I'm going to sit down and do that. Anyways, fabulous talking to you guys. Make sure all of you subscribe and come in for the live every morning and every evening American time. So we can then get some more questions and maybe some more interactions. Nice to see all of you guys. That Big Boss being there, Blow RP being there, Disturbed Genius being there, A being there. So thanks for joining in, and maybe we'll connect again. And you guys should get a notification every time I come live. So I try coming in about 10 minutes before the actual time, so then we can have like a chit chat on whatever we want to. Anyways, guys, great talking to you. Have a good day. See ya. Thanks for tuning in.